Now is the moment you've all been waiting for. Okay, Chuku is here.
OC.
I mean, OC.
Yeah, let's work with OC for the purposes of the brand. Yeah, we'll
for the
work with
brand.
OC.
Why OC?
Well, actually, it was my parents who gave me that.
Okay.
My first name, or my giving names, like you said, Ukeje and then Chukudi. So that's my first and my middle names. But I guess my parents foresaw that I would be doing this business, so they kind of put it together and called me OC, and
And you grew with that.
And I grew with that. So it's been working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you fill those forms, what do? You still...
Well, when we're doing official business, you have to write Ukeje, Chukudi, with the two solid Igbo names, not one English name.
Kwenu.
Yeah.
All right, so that suggests that you're from the East.
Yes,
What part of the East are you from?
I'm from Abia State.
Abia.
Yes.
Abia. So do you grow up there?
No, I was born and bred in Lagos. Yeah, but we had the opportunity to go back home at the end of every year. Well, every other year up until I got into the boarding school. So, yes, we loved it. It was part of our culture. Let's go to villages Christmas. Yay! So we had fun doing that.
Yeah, so you speak the language?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I love this. I didn't think you have that accent.
Are you kidding? I'm an Igbo
man. Do
man.
you do Igbo movies? Have you done any?
Well, here's the thing. They haven't been shooting a lot of Igbo films lately, so no, I haven't gotten the opportunity. I did have an opportunity once, but while we were discussing, some of the projects came up and, I went for the other one. But I know that there are a couple people who are putting out feelers for Igbo films, so they know I can speak Igbo, so it will happen.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, it's national television.
Exactly.
Yes,
you heard me
television.
speak, oh.
Yeah, so you can just plug in and just explore that bit of him. I didn't think you could speak it very well. And look at the accent. Like you ate a lot of abacha when growing up.
Yes, no.
Before you...
I'll stop there.
Oh, my goodness. Now, OC, you say you grew up here in Lagos.
Yes, I did.
And now you are... a big name in the entertainment industry.
On my way up.
Did you ever think of it? Did you ever imagine that you'd be where you are today?
Well, I think that I did, especially because I knew that there were certain things I wanted to see happen. But it's one thing for you to think about it. It's a different thing for you to actually experience it. And if you've had many seasons of droughts, those sometimes are like pointers to the fact that, maybe this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And then there comes a turning point where everything spins around and all of a sudden your name is, up in lights and you're like, okay, this is not a bad experience. So it's been very eye-opening for me. I mean, actually beginning to see that, okay, so there is some headway here, So it's been interesting so far.
Did you study to become an actor?
No.
Tell us about it. Give us a story.
So I studied marine sciences at the University of Lagos, exactly. And I knew that by my third year, I was going to be doing acting. And I knew this because while I was on campus, I was working with an organization. It was a fellowship, actually, and they were doing plays. So they asked me to audition, which I did, and I got a lead role, and then we staged it, and a big organization saw that and thought I did impressive, and then they hired me, and then we started doing plays. So I did plays from 2001 to 2004. So by my third year, I knew I would like to do this, but I couldn't leave Unilag and go and study. So I said, let's finish that, and then we'll get on it. And then by the time I was done with school, there was a reality TV show, and I got on board, and I won that. And then there was a film after that, and people thought you were impressive, and then the story started building. But eventually, I realized that it's one thing for you to think that you're talented for it. It's a different thing to have training, So for me, it was important to get the training, which I, eventually did in 2009. I did a workshop for acting in LA, and then all through, before this time, it was really, nothing was happening. It was a serious season of droughts. And going to do the workshop was my last attempt at acting, actually. So I had said to myself, if I go and do this workshop and I come back and nothing happens...
It means the Holy Spirit is talking to you.
You know what I'm saying? That this is a clear-cut sign But I came back, and all of a sudden, phone calls started coming, you know, and things they're picking up, and they're, oh, you're that guy who, oh, yes, I thank you. I'm like, I've been here all this time, you know. So that's how the story has been.
So what has happened to that degree you spent how many years getting?
You know, it's an interesting question. It's, you know, nicely tucked away somewhere, you know, like maybe gathering a bit of dust.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe. I mean, I've always thought about it as an investment angle, eventually, because when you're in your final year, you go either into marine biology or fisheries biology, depending on what your interests are. So I've always thought about it as an angle to invest eventually when we start making, you know, decent income.
Backup plan.
Yeah.
You know, in the entertainment industry, you need to get a backup plan. No?
And your backup plan used to have a backup plan.
Can you beat that?
Yeah, it's
the
business that we do.
Well, people, listen, he's talking sense, plenty of sense. If you think you just go into the entertainment world and you think it's all rosy and all, you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. Yeah. It's not as easy as it gets, right?
Yes.
Now, when you got out of school, you went in there and they started calling you. At that time, what was your first? Let's take your first experience in acting.
Right. So when I was done with school and I was done doing plays and I had done this reality TV show, off of that you get to do a film. And I mean, this was my first experience, so I really didn't know how I did. You know, it's just they're going to get you to play lead in a film simply because you win a reality TV show. But you get to work with the likes of Ukeje Silva and Rita Dominic, and you're hoping that, you know, you have your A game as well. You know, and after the film was done, you know, yeah, you don't know if people are really being honest with you in terms of you were good at the film, until the film started gathering momentum, and I won an award at the African Movie Academy.
What film was that?
This is White Waters. It was my very first film. And then I won an award at the African Movie Academy Awards in 2008 for the best upcoming actor in Africa at the time. So I was like, okay, this looks like, you know, there is some, you know, sense in what I'm doing. Because for me, that just validated the fact that, okay, so I might actually be good at this thing, you know.
In a very short space of time.
In a short space of time. But the good thing is, all the plays that I was doing from 2001 cultured me enough to be able to have requisite discipline for the work and have an understanding of what I was trying to go in, even though both of them have different techniques. But I learned a lot of things on the job, you know, and then I had people who, you know, gave me crash courses, you know, put me through, helped me understand it a bit better. But yeah, that first experience, it was an eye-opener. And then I guess you kind of figure that, you know, having talent is also not enough, you know, in the business. You have to, there are too many angles to figure out as far as the business goes, and sometimes you wish you could just focus on the acting and do the acting alone, but alas, it doesn't work like that. So
you want to share some of those?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you have to understand how to work with colleagues, for example. You know, you have colleagues who are divas and divos.
Devils.
You know, and it's interesting because, yeah, you have to be able to manage people, basically, and that's what our business is. It's a people management business. And for me, that was the first shocker, you know, getting in the business and seeing that, okay, people are not really here for the work. You know, people are really here to look nice and pretty and, you know, all that jazz, which is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. But on top of that, you want to also be good at your craft, you know. So that was, for me, the first shock. And then the other shock that comes with it is you don't get remunerated as much. You know, you can work for a while and then you get shitty pay. And then you fall into the issues of you almost cannot say no to people simply because you're a newbie. You know, so this accomplished producer wants to do a film, you should be grateful that they're giving you a film to do. But I'm thinking, yes, but I would like to do a film that I can watch myself and say, okay, you tried.
Okay. You
know, so it's that sort of thing of, you know, handling the powerful people who have gone before you in the business. You know, it was, yeah, a shocker. You just don't know how to say no. you know, and they
And
look
if
at
you
you and
say
say,
no, they'll put you in a blacklist.
exactly. So at the time, being an upstart, it was really hard to have to grapple with all of that. I'm like, Jesus, help me! How are we going to do this? You know, it was crazy. But someone told me that diplomacy is your best key, and I tried to be very diplomatic through it all until, you know, I got here. And I'm glad, I guess, that I really didn't have to depend on who I knew or what producer gave me what gigs. You know, I dare say that a lot of it has been purely out of merit. And then the big man upstairs looking out for you and making
God
sure
watching
that,
all
oh
over
yes, you know, because yeah,
that's a very nice story. Very
Thank
nice
you.
one. Coming from OC. Yes,
Thank
very
you.
nice one. Now, can you share the first day you came on set? How was it like? Were your legs, your voice? Can you share that moment with us? Do you still remember that moment?
Yeah, I think I do.
Great.
And I remember it because they had been speculating that Genevieve was supposed to be playing female lead for the role I was super excited, but obviously frightened, you know, at the thought of having to see the almighty Genevieve, you know. But the night before we shot, I hadn't seen anybody who looked like a female lead or who looked like Genevieve. They had mentioned that Corey as well, but nobody told me anything. So next morning, we're ready to go, and I'm like, okay, so we're shooting this thing, but I don't see any female lead, you know. And then we're going towards the location bus, and then Rita Dominic pops out from a corner, and I'm like,
Okay.
wow, okay, God help us, in the name of God, you know. And I remember getting into the bus and then saying hello, and then not knowing what to do, and then you know that you're going to have to shoot some intimate scenes, and you know, be like you guys are buddies, but I don't know the woman. She doesn't know me. She's not talking to me. She's not trying to talk to me. You know, she's, you know, at the time we're not obviously.
I know.
And I'm thinking, so how do people do this? And nobody's saying anything to me. You know, and they're setting up, everybody's setting up here in your corner, and you're still figuring, okay, I guess when we get there, we'll figure out whether we understand each other or not. You know, and it was interesting because she, being a professional, she went right into it. I guess that my first attempt at it too was pretty okay because I didn't get lashed too much by the director.
I wasn't even expecting you to get it wrong. I mean, being by the side of a pretty drop-dead diva.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to dream it and act it and whatever it will take to make sure that
yeah, but
you act by her side next time.
Yes, of course. You know, you want to be sure that, you know. But it was frightening, I have to be honest. It was very frightening. Yeah.
But it turned out good.
But it turned
eventually.
Out good. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. So how many movies do you have to your credit?
I think I have about 16 or 17.
Already?
Yes.
How many years?
2008 was my first film, so it's been 6 years. Yeah, it's been 6 years. And obviously I don't play lead in all of them. Some of them I have supporting roles. Some, well, for Half of Yellowstone I had a speaking extra role. But yeah, it's been about 16 to my credits.
So which one would you say was most challenging? I mean, took the guts out of you?
I think that I still refer to White Waters as that, which is my first film. Not because the other ones weren't challenging, but for two reasons. First of all, it was my first attempt at film. And this was make or break. You know, it could be that you're a flash in the pan. Yeah, you won a reality TV show doesn't mean that you're a good actor. You know, and then secondly, the character was designed such that you don't talk a lot, but people need to understand what you're saying from your expressions. So minimal dialogue, but they have to understand, and then you're not overacting, you're not, you know, and conducting and stuff, you know. So it was difficult to do that for a first timer, you know, and then to be able to gain the acceptance that I did after the film was very surprising. So that was challenging, and I've done a couple of other very interesting projects that I thought were, you know, they had their own degree of challenges, but I would still go with White Waters.
You know, this movie world, it has a way of sucking you in and In fact, I don't know. I don't even drowning you. Has it drowned you yet?
I think that I've tried to stay afloat.
How have you done that?
Well, the thing is, I'm glad that I had the definition of my personality before I got into the business, and I had to learn a lot of things in a short time. As to how the business works and what it does to people, and how people become different. And now that I've climbed up a bit more, now I can understand why some people became the way they became. So I will not judge anyone. I pay respects to people who have remained normal and sane through the thing, because the business really does suck you in. But defining my personality, first of all, helped. And then having the kind of mother that I did, there's some sort of upbringing that that you just cannot misbehave outside, because word will get home, and So the upbringing, defining the personality, and I wanted to be sure that outside the work I do, I just want to still be able to give myself permission to do certain things, be normal. I mean, and it's not easy to be normal, but just be normal and be okay, and just,
Speaking of personality, who's OC Ukeje? People see you from different perspective.
Yeah.
Now let's hear it from you.
I know. I think he's an assertive, young, upwardly mobile, great looking.
Oh.
If I do say so myself. But altogether simple, straightforward individual who just, would like to see his name on a skyscraper at some point.
So you're good looking.
Yeah.
When did you realize it?
When?
When?
Oh, this, some things live with you. You don't have to realize it. You just know.
You just know you're good
yeah,
looking.
you just know.
And you're even adjusting your shirt and putting on the swag.
You know what I mean?
So how has that affected your career?
Well, it has been good for business, I have to be honest, because our business is really about, looks and, all that gloss and stuff. So thank God that I did not purchase this in a market, came freely.
Naturally.
Yeah.
So who do you look after? Is it your mom or your dad? Who would you give that credit to?
I used to think I looked more like my mom, but as I've grown and my head has taken shape, I'm seeing the elements of my dad.
Your dad.
So...
So do you have all your kids, all your siblings rather, all your siblings, and do they all have this beautiful features?
But yeah, of course.
How many of you?
There's 3 of us. I have an older brother and a younger sister.
And a younger, so you're the Malcolm in the middle.
Yes, Malcolm in the middle.
Interesting, interesting. You've got quite an interesting thing going for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so are you the only person in the movie industry? Are you the only person in entertainment, or, I mean, you have a family lineage?
No, I'm apparently the only person in my lineage who's in the business. Apparently the only person in my lineage who's left-handed. I don't know how that worked out, but I'm saying through my mother's side, through my father's side, no other person is a southpaw. I'm the only person. And then I'm the only person who's acting full-time. Who's doing showbiz. My brother is an artist though. He paints, he draws and stuff. So he has a bit of the creative in him. But yeah, I'm the only person who's doing this.
And your sister?
My sister is, towing the regular life of the beautiful women that, study what they study and then get a job and get a master's degree and,
And your mother?
My mother is a singer, actually. Yeah, she's been part of, in fact, she's still a member of a choir at church till date. So I think that also, helped. And my dad was a caterer.
So you get to eat good food.
We used to enjoy, those moments. He's late now, so yeah. But yeah, he was a caterer. So I guess those are the elements that probably, splash dash of creative angles in all of us. That I don't know how my sister did not pick something though. I love you, sis.
Was there any kind of objection when you said, okay, I'm leaving that degree thing and going into entertainment? Did you?
My mom has been the most supportive individual, on the face of the earth, because I know that it was gradual, and I needed to find ways to graduate it without having issues. When I knew initially, I couldn't talk to her about it. But I remember in my second year at the university, we're going to take this play to United Kingdom. I was working with a drama troupe then. And I was actually going to defer my semester exams at the University of Lagos. And they made me these promises of getting me into school. I was juvenile, I knew nothing, but it sounded really nice. You know, you get into school in the UK, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, you know, we're going to move somewhere else. But I was going to defer it. And then I had to summon the courage to talk to my mom about it. And my mom said to me that if it has worked out this way, who am I to say no? After my mom said that, I knew that there was nothing that I would tell my mom that would be an issue. You know, suffice to say, we did not get the visas to go, and I did very badly at exams that semester because I didn't read. But I just knew that my mom had my back. You know, now by the time I was done with school, the issue now becomes how quickly we can transit into it full time, so that they're not worrying what's going on, you know. Because my mom had started asking what's going on. So fortunately, the reality TV show came when I was doing my youth service corps in Bielsa. And then, you know, that's held on for a while. And then when the seasons of drought came, what's going on? What's going on? My mom wants to know, my aunties want to know. And I'm like, the business requires time. You need to give it time, you know, for things to pick up. And they were kind enough to let it, you know, take time.
And interestingly, you know, when people start off, like others who are in your field, when they start off like that, they start off with very small, you know, appearances, waka pass role and all. But you seem to, like, you don't just pitch your tent, you know, with very big projects, but you get very, very, you know, active roles.
Well, you know,
I mean, speak of Half of a Yellowstone, for instance.
Well, I've been very fortunate, I have to say, because I really didn't do a lot of waka pass roles, but I knew that I wanted to be able to do films that I could watch myself and be able to look at. I mean, and even though it's still difficult to watch yourself on TV, but at least you know that the content is appreciable enough to watch. So yeah, I had to turn down some films because I just didn't think that they would be, you know. But I don't know. I really cannot tell you that it's anything spectacular that I did. I just knew that there are some films I'd like to be in and there are some films I don't want to be in. And then when they make those offers, if you cannot tell them you can't do it, you find the stories to tell them why you can't do it. And I guess that over the time after I returned from the workshop and then people started hiring me. And I remember when I came back, Jetta Mata was shooting a film called Black November. And he had, you know, cast a bunch of very interesting, you know, Hollywood people on the project. So that sort of gave me, you know, an edge, you know, especially because I had met him there. He was casting. I'm like, hey, we act to put us in the film, and he did, you know. So that sort of started, you know, turning people in my direction. I'm like, okay, this guy seems interesting, you know. And then for some reason, usually they pitch something to me and they pitch a very interesting parts. And then I knew that I also wanted to be doing roles that always add to my career. It doesn't always have to be lead, but it's, you know, in the direction of, you know,
progressive.
Yeah, exactly. So that's you know.
So how far can you go as an actor?
How far
can you go?
Well,
as an actor?
As an actor, I mean, I don't know that I can do anything gay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know that I can do that. I really don't know. I think that every other thing, if tastefully done, I mean, you know, here's the thing. I've seen films that they portrayed nudity and it was tastefully done, and you don't remember it for the whole of the film. What covers it up is, you know, the arc of the story and whatnot. But it's also sensitive in Nigeria because we're very cultural people. So it's not the sort of thing that you would jump into immediately. You know, the audiences are changing. Nonetheless, some of these things are imbibed in us and they're deep-seated. They're not going to change. if you're doing crossover projects, maybe there is the opportunity. You will think about it long and hard, because my mother is going to watch the film as well.
Okay.
Yes, so I want to be sure that she's okay,
That she's not holding the Bible and praying immediately and saying, God, please deliver my son from this, from the hands of the devil.
Exactly.
All right, Half of a Yellow Sun. I mean, that's a big project. How did you tell us the secrets. How did you get in there?
I know that before the film actually did kick off, I had heard that they were, adapting this book, and I had been looking for who was working on it, and for 2 years I didn't find the person. And then I remember I'd come back from a trip, and then I get an email asking me to come for a close read, and then I went there, and I'm, looking at the sides, and I'm like, these lines look familiar, and then I remembered, oh, I've read the book, So that's when I knew that, okay, things were, actually kicking off. So I actually did a closed audition, and I had tried 2 different parts, and then eventually there was a list out, and they offered me a part. And then, I mean, it's one thing for them to offer you a part, it's another thing for you to decide on whether you want to do it or not. And I know people would say, what are you saying? This is a big project, you should, but you weigh a couple of things. But I did accept, and it was a small role actually. But it was good for me because for part of what I got to do was I got to work with Chinwetel directly, I got to work with Tandy Newton directly, I got to work with Onyeka Owenu directly, which is really good. And for a ton of the people who haven't seen the film, and for some others who may never see the film, they're all going to remember that, oh, Osi was in that film that had blah, blah, blah. So when you make the business decisions like that, you find that it's good for you, and yeah.
How did it impact on you as a person? I mean, that story is a very strong and touching story.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, how did it affect you as a person?
I remember, because I read the book twice. I started reading it when I knew there was the opportunity to do the film, but I'd read it before then. I remember my first time reading it, it was very, very good for me at the time, because there's a lot of things that we find that young folk are not very interested in. We're very entertainment driven, and then we know very little about our history and very little about, things that affect us or that will affect us when we turn 40 and 50, and some of the things that are happening in terms of ethnic divides, that make you realize that this is part of the reasons why Nigeria is the way it is, The book made me realize that, look, it was important to start, thinking about why things are going on, because you can't just be building your own house and thinking that the rest of the people don't exist, So the book was very, very strong for me, and then I started, digging up documentaries and finding out details. Yeah, on my own. Details about different things and how the histories have been and what's happened where and why, So it was very, very strong for me. And then to get it adapted for screen was just really nice,
Don't you think that's the way Nigerian movie producers should go? I mean, putting our culture out there, putting our history out there.
And you're quite right. But there are certain elements to consider. The thing is the business it is today because people found a way to make it as a money spinner. It's you put your money in, you shoot within a certain number of days, you get the film out, you make your money back plus profits.
Showbiz.
So for the longest time, the concern wasn't really about
the
content itself. It was more just about the fact that this thing was good for money. And so the content suffered and took a dive, and then eventually at some point it will implode, which it did. And now people are trying to get it up to, the levels of international standards, and people are paying closer attention to what kind of material they want to put out there. The important thing is we still have the issues of budget, and investment, because those are the things that tell how much you can put into a film. For example, in Nigeria, I have, about 16 cinemas. If you put a film in there that you have spent 45 million making,
you're beginning to talk like a producer yourself now.
There are
Any
plans.
Aha, now you're talking.
There are plans,
Okay.
but more because these things affect even people like me as an actor and how much I'm being paid. Because if they make a budget and they cannot pay you more than a certain amount, you have to look through the value chain and realize why they can't pay you more than that. It's simply because if I invest 50 naira and I'm going to make 5 naira, I'm making loss. So I cannot pay you if I know that. Exactly.
Your profit.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So that was why I started looking into those angles, even though I intend to eventually produce.
How soon is that?
I don't know, maybe 2 years' time.
2 years' time.
Yeah,
I also know that you're into music, into modeling.
Well, the modeling,
multitasking. You don't want other people to chop. You want to eat alone.
This is the beauty of entertainment. You use what you have to get what you want.
Tell us about it, please.
Well, the modeling parts, I've never actively modeled, but when I was in the university, they would call for auditions, and then based on the fact that you're a fine boy, you appear now.
This guy,
yeah, I know.
This fine boy thing.
Yes, it's
it's just getting in your head. I hope you won't be walking on the streets one day and then your head rolls off, goes off your shoulder because you just feel like I'm a fine boy.
No, it won't happen. But I never actively modeled, actually.
Okay.
I just attended auditions and I never got picked.
Okay.
Apparently, people were better looking.
Than you.
Yeah.
Is that reality check for you now?
Oh, I always know that for every level there's a higher level, so no worries.
Okay, what about the singing?
Well, the music I actually thought was what was going to get me this far.
Okay.
But I remember that it was difficult to do both, and I was very confused as to what angle, to toe. And I remember the director of White Waters, Izuchukwu, said to me, told the one that the tide is taking you, in a higher direction. And at the time was acting. So that was the best clarity I could get at the time. And then I just started doing that. So for the music, yeah, I've maybe featured on one person's song. I've done my own singles here and there. But eventually, I just don't know how to do some of the kinds of music that we're doing today. Yeah, more R&B-ish, acoustic soul.
And you still get people like us on board now. So,
yes. So I know there's an audience for that, so I'm not worried.
Okay, great. Now, fine boy. Fine boys, they find it very difficult to stick to one girl.
I've heard that too.
You've heard that too?
Yeah. I've been told that too.
You've been told that?
Yeah, I've been told that.
Are you sure you're not practicing it?
Well, I do my best. I do my best. But the interesting thing is, I know that deep down I'm a one-woman man.
Really?
Yeah, generally.
Are you saying this on national television? Because some guys will come and say, okay.
They should come.
So I'm not the choosing one.
Yeah, they can come.
They can come?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. On national television, OC Ukeje is saying that it's a one-man.
A one-woman man. Yeah,
So if you think you are the person, then you're wasting your time. Why are you laughing?
But it's really difficult, I have to be honest. It is. Because as you rise up the ranks, it becomes easier. To
access.
Yeah, the access is easier, and I guess also certain things kind of help you just keep your focus a bit, because all due respect, women are interesting people.
Okay.
Yeah. God bless the women.
Okay.
Yeah.
And continue.
No, I'm just saying. So if you are able to handle more than one at a time, experience. That's a lot of experience. I'm not the most experienced in terms of handling a lot of people. I have tried at different seasons, of course, but you find that some more.
I can read between the lines.
Yeah.
And get your deductions.
You can get my deductions.
Yes.
This is beautiful.
Okay. But I also know there's a woman in the picture. Oh, is she no longer in the picture?
No, there is a woman in the picture.
So very soon.
Fingers crossed.
Tie your hand, tie your leg.
We'll tie everything.
Tie everything.
Yes.
How well are you looking forward to that?
Oh, I'm looking super forward to it, because I also think that it sort of changes things. There are people who respect you a bit more because
your legs are tied, your hands are tied.
They think that you're more responsible.
Fabulous.
And that's not the reason why. I'm just saying that it's one of the added advantages. So yeah, it's an important.
Who is this lucky girl? Sorry, babes. He's
one
taking
girl like that.
How did she even get you safe? How did she pin you down?
I can be pinned down.
So what did she do right
She didn't have
that
to,
others didn't do?
but that's the thing. She didn't have to do anything spectacular. She just had to be herself, and that was okay.
What did she? What is that thing?
Well, I typically like drama-free women, people who have. I mean,
Wouldn't check your phones.
oh no, it's not even
Don't-
checking. No.
Don't dote on you.
Oh no, I have no problem with the doting.
Okay.
And with the checking of phones, I mean, it's not a rule for me, but I just expect that you're an individual, I'm an individual. You have your life, I have my life. So you have the right to your privacy, and I have the right to my privacy.
And she gives you that.
Yeah, we give each other that.
Oh.
You know, so that's crucial. I don't think that because you become a unit, then I must bring your phone, submit it. Let me see what's happening. No, I don't think so. You're still going to have friends. You're still going to have people. When you're married, you're still going to have people who like you,
Fans.
who want to take you from your husband or take you from your wife. There are always people like that.
Have you given her that lecture?
She's aware. She's aware. And she's a good-looking girl, so this is not and then yeah, you can be in the spotlights, but it doesn't mean that someone else is not chasing your woman now, and someone else is probably more accomplished than you are. It has nothing to do with the spotlights. It has everything to do with what every man is intimidated by. You know, so any guy who's making more money than me is not hosting a fine care that you two, you now be like, hey, what's going on? You know, so it's a give and take.
Okay.
I'm not doing her any favors. She's not doing me any favors. We're, you know,
It's a mutual thing.
It's a mutual thing.
All right.
Yeah.
So very soon we should be hearing the wedding bells.
Yes.
How soon?
When will you marry? This year, next year, sometime or never? It won't be never, but
very soon.
But one of those options.
No cold feet, nothing like that.
No cold feet.
Very optimistic.
Very optimistic.
Okay. Be sure to invite us for the wedding day, okay?
Yes.
All right. So it's been a pleasure. Have you had a good time?
I've had an absolutely amazing time. Thank you.
An amazing
so
time.
much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you on Saturday night.
Thank you very much.
Keep doing us proud.
Thank you.
And we keep supporting and promoting you.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And so viewers, on that note, we say thank you so much for staying tuned to this week's edition of Saturday Night. Until next week, like I'd always say, be kind to one another. Good night.